Hi, I'm Boo from the New Orleans Cooking Experience. I'm here in New Orleans cooking up my favorite dish at Thanksgiving, and that's the Cajun dirty rice jambalaya. I call it that because I've added sausage to it. In the old days, I used to put gizzards and liver, but I find universally the sausage and the ground meat works for everybody. As always, with our dishes, we're going to start with the roux. Now the roux is the browning of flour and oil. And today I'm using my old black skillet that I like to use. And I'm going to put it on a medium to low heat. We're going to add a little over half a cup of oil. Just so you cover your skillet. And always use a little bit more oil, more flour than oil. So this is a 3/4 cup of flour. Now the importance of making a roux is that again, it's the basis for all Cajun cooking. And once you've mastered the roux, I don't know about you, but it's taken me around the world. People call me to go cook there at their houses, at their meetings. In Colorado, I cook for people in their condos. What you want to do is just gradually add your flour. Now it takes me about 3 beers to make a roux, which is about 45 minutes. So we're going to stir in this good. I'm going to show you how that's done, and then we're going to continue on. Okay, you can see how this is smoothing pretty good. Got some lumps, but I'm not worried about that. Again, this is a constant stir. I have everything cut up because I don't want to be at the point where the roux is getting brown and I have to get my Holy Trinity together. And the Holy Trinity down here, we call the onions, celery, and bell pepper. The garlic is what we call the resurrection. You notice I'm continually stirring. I also was able to brown my sausage, which I like to use Richard's sausage with green onions, and I have some ground meat. What I do is I brown that real well in the oven, and so I have that all ready. Now again, you see how smooth that roux is? We're going to get it to a very dark color, which I'll call the color of the bayou after a heavy rain. When we get to that color, that means the roux is just about done. Okay, I'm on my second beer, and I can see that roux is changing like I want. We've been into this about 30 minutes. And you see how it went from that light color to now like a tan. So I'm going to lower my fire. You see how quickly it's getting dark. I'm lowered my fire. And it's important, the next vegetable you add is the onions. What you want to do, you see, it's getting to that color I told you about the bayou. The onions is the first vegetable you put in there because the sugar from the onions makes your roux darker. And what I do, this is 3 onions cut up. I'm going to put half of that in there because that's the color I can judge my color that way. It's nice deep brown right now, so watch what happens when I put these onions in here. See that nice sizzle? It's always good to have a long spoon. You notice you don't want that grease and oil to be frying on your skin. So you want to fry your onions in that. And see how beautiful that color has gotten? It smells good. And it's going to taste real good. I'm stirring constantly. Always stir when making a roux. I'm going to add a little bit more of those vegetables. My onion, of course. And another thing, not only does the onions help get that good rich color, it also cools down your roux a little bit so that it'll help you from not burning it. For those who make your roux the first time, you don't have to worry. When it gets to this stage, there's less chance of the roux burning when the onions are frying in there. Okay, now you see that good color? That's what you want before you add the other vegetables. And because I'm making dirty rice and it's going to be a larger pot, I like to use my cast iron I'm sorry I moved out of there, but my cast iron pot. This is my mother's pot. It's older than I am. I've used it for years, and it, to me, yeah, I can't cook without it. All right, now I like the way my onions have browned, and what I'm going to do now is, because I have my old black iron pot here, I'm going to dump my roux into that so I can add the rest of my vegetables without too much spilling on the stove. There you go. It'll keep that beautiful color that we liking. All right, we've transferred the initial roux into my big black pot. I'm going to raise the fire from, remember I had it high to low when I added the onions. I stirred them real well. That was about 1½ onions. Now I'm adding the rest of the onions. Stirring all the time still. Again, with Cajun cooking, you might stir a lot in the beginning, but once it's all done, you're good to go. You can do other things around your house or your home. Okay, we got the onions stirred in there well. I'm going to put my 4 stalks of celery, 4 to 5 stalks. I like a lot of celery and bell pepper, and I like to cut it chunky. Some people like to puree it. My mother loved to puree, and she was an excellent cook. But I like the chunky vegetables. I got my bell peppers here. I use green bell pepper as one of them, again, kind of coarsely chopped. You can see I'm still stirring, always scraping the bottom of the pot. Got my garlic toes in there. That I like garlic, so that's like, you know, I'm half Sicilian, so that's about 10 toes of garlic. There's as many different ways to make dirty rice as there's gumbo and soups. I have dear friends who basically cook the same, but I always use bay leaf. And I'm lucky we can get fresh bay leaf in trees around Louisiana, so I always like to put fresh bay leaf in there. I'm putting 2 of them, again stirring. I'm going to lower the fire a little bit. I always say season to taste. So I start off with probably a teaspoon of cayenne. And with my Worcestershire, from cooking so much, I know this is going to be like 4 teaspoons. But I like to just pretend I'm seasoning a big old plate, so I just go like that. And the same thing with the salt is like the cayenne. You don't want to, there's nothing worse than over-salting your food. So I only go with about a teaspoon of salt. Now later on you can taste it, and if you want to add more cayenne or salt or whatever, you can, but you don't want to put that too much in the beginning. You see, this is a perfect color. I like the way it's looking. Now, if you tasted this, it's not gonna taste good. So I never tasted it at this point. What I'm gonna do is let this cook for about 15 to 20 minutes, getting all those flavors absorbing in there. Then we're gonna come back with the ground meat and sausage. Okay, now we're about 15 minutes into this, and you can see that dark color is back again. This is what you want, that color to come back, which is again 15, 20 minutes. I am now going to put my browned ground meat and sausage in there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, traditionally down there in Cajun country, they like to use chicken livers and gizzards. I personally don't, because I find I travel too much outside of there that people don't like it. But believe me, chicken and gizzards goes wonderful in here. That's why I came up with my sausage. Very few people cook dirty rice the same way I do, because I like to make a roux and I like to add sausage. I'm stirring my, see how thick this has gotten? Now again, I'm a stir, so I'll always make sure everything's stirred good. And I've got a little bit over a cup of beef broth in there. I'm going to slowly add, so I'm going to raise my fire a little bit because I've just added the meat and the sausage. I'll put about a, let's say, it's about a cup of beef broth in there. Okay, I've added my beef broth. I like the way the texture of this is. Everything is the right color. I'm going to cook this about another 30 minutes. Now, from beginning to get in of cooking the way in South Louisiana we do, it does take about an hour and a half from the time you start your roux until I'm finished cooking the rice and the sausage in the roux. But you don't have to watch it. You put it on a low fire. I'm going to cover this. Low to medium fire. And again, I've made this is enough dirty rice for probably 15 to 18 people. If you're only having, let's say, 10 people for Thanksgiving, then you can freeze the rest and you have your stock all ready again. That's what I really like to do with all my Cajun cooking. Okay, we've been simmering our dirt for about 30 minutes. I want to taste it right now because we're almost ready to add the rice. And again, this could simmer another 30 if you wanted, but for sure the minimum is 30 minutes. Stir in the pot. It's not sticking because I got that good iron pot that's been cured for years. I got a little bit sausage in there when I taste this because, again, this has seasoning in it, so I don't want to be careful not to say, oh, this needs some salt or this needs some cayenne, and basically it was in the sausage. It's perfect. It's perfect like I like it. So now I got some onion tops and parsley in there. Adds a little color. Mixing that well. So I'm going to move my pot over. I'm going to turn my fire off. And again, this is something that you can cook longer, but never cook less. Right? This is 6 cups of rice. I'm going to do, for demonstration, I'm going to do half of that. Which is, about 3 cups of cooked rice. I'm going to ladle me some of the dirt on there. Now, see how I'm mixing it? Mix it well. Now you can see, this is commonly a good color, but I like mine a little bit more meat and juice in there. Now we're using this as a dressing for the Thanksgiving, but this is a main course you could use on the side with a vegetable and a good salad. I've done that before. I do it with my barbecue chicken, pork roast. This is a great side dish. And there you have it. It's a beautiful dish. Like I said, it took me about, well, this is like 3.5 beers because we let it simmer a little bit longer. I'm going to taste it with the rice. And again, rice is staple down there. We grow rice down in South Louisiana, so rarely do I ever make anything with pasta or potatoes. But I sure like my dirty rice. And this is a beautiful dish, easy to serve, and it freezes well. Ça c'est bon.